Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to the Faithful Journey Hop. So in today's video is going to look a little different, and I'm going to talk to you guys about my experience with my faith, how it's been tested, and how it always leads back to God, right? So I'm not a religious person. I do not go to church right now or anything, but my faith stands with God and Jesus Christ, right? So I'm going to go way back from experience from when I was younger, when I went to Catholic school. I went to Catholic school from kindergarten to 12th grade, but on the weekends, I went to Baptist church. So I'm going to talk about that experience there, my experience moving to Florida and what we dealt with in our home, and how it always just leads back to God, Jesus, and prayer, right? So I want to thank Donna Power by Creativity as well as Mary Love Country Living for this hop because it just made me look back at a lot of things. Now I was trying to find like my communion confirmation pictures and I couldn't find them, which is odd because I always keep them in a certain place, but I feel like a lot of things was just stopping me from doing this video, but it was gonna get done, right? So it's late night, the baby's sleeping. You guys already know I record at night. Hopefully nothing interrupts me while I'm doing this, right? So we do have a pamphlet here, right? I decided I did not want to fill out the pamphlet because I want to go based on experience and what I went through when it comes down to faith, right? So Donna kicked this off on Monday the 2nd, and then Mary Love Country Living did it on the 4th. Go check out both videos because they were really, really awesome. So Donna has faith all over her house. You have to see this. Like, it's just everywhere in her house, and I love every minute of it. And it just takes me back. It takes me back to when I was a child going to Catholic church, when I did my holy sacraments. I was also an altar server, so that's what brought it back there. Then I saw Mary Love Country Living. It kind of went towards my Baptist side, like Christian side of things. And based on her experience and how she fell like into a lot of deep things, go check that out. Amazing video. Now today I go, and then on the knife is going to be Saved with Judy. So make sure you check that out. So I want to take you guys back to when I was baptized. So I was baptized when I was 4 years old. Usually you get baptized in the Catholic Church when you're a baby, but they baptized me at 4 years old. At this time, I was going to Catholic church, right? I'll go to Catholic church when I was 5 because I was in Catholic school. But on the weekends, I will go to Baptist church. So my grandma, I grew up with my grandmother, very, very into her faith, into her God. Like, I love God, I love Jesus, screams my grandmother, right? And it fell into how she raised us as well. So my mom and dad, they fell into drugs, right? If you guys don't know this now you know. And they basically gave me and my brother up to my grandma and my grandpa from my father's side, right? So my brother was born first. A year later, I was born, right? Now, when I was born, I was a cocktail baby. So it was 1984. It was during the crack epidemic. And my mom basically took a cocktail of drugs. I was the last kid. Well, I'm not the last kid. There is another kid that she abandoned in the crack house. So I'm still trying to figure that out, like how it happened. I try to talk to family members. But there is a younger one than me. Never found her or him, right? So that's something I've been looking up for years to see if I find anything, but I still have nothing. Like some family member says, where did you get that story from? And then my older sister says that's what happened. And they actually saw her pregnant. But at this time, my father was in prison while that all happened, right? So I was born a cocktail baby. And the doctors said that I was a miracle because I wasn't like all the other babies that were born from two parents who took drugs, right? So I'm just grateful that my parents gave me to my grandmother and didn't just put me like in a foster care system or anything. Now, there is two sides to this. When you grow up with grandma is a different story. So I feel like with my grandmother, she was scared of messing up. That's my printer going on. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about that. But with her sons and her daughters, not mainly her daughter, she had 6 kids. Three of her 4 sons fell into drugs, drinking. One was an alcoholic. My dad was a drug addict. and my uncle was a drug addict as well, right? So I think my grandmother, what she tried to do with me and my brother is shelter us, right? She sheltered us. She did teach us about God. She told us to pray every night the Our Father, right? But it was a bit of a confusion with both religions because on Sunday, well, Saturday, I was in the youth group with the Baptist church. And then Sundays, we'll go to Bible study. And then it was a Spanish church, but the Bible study was in English. And then we'll go upstairs where all the adults were, right? So there were certain things I couldn't do in Baptist church, and there were certain things I couldn't do in the Catholic faith, right? So where the confusion came in was even with the Holy Trinity. In Baptist church, they say Father, Son, Holy Spirit, but they don't signal Father, Son, Holy Spirit like the Catholic religion, right? So I remember my grandmother telling me, do not tell people that I was in the Catholic faith. Like I was going to church because we would go to mass when we were in school. I was an altar server. That's when they opened up altar serving for girls. And I remember just taking that role and feeling like so like, oh my God, I'm at the altar at the church. Here I am serving the priest, right? And just feeling really, really happy about that, right? So even the smells in church, like Donna talks about frankincense. I remember the Stations of the Cross when I did that. Like I was just so excited to do that mass, and like I just remember like just being honored to be in front of that. Like it, like a big show, and here I am serving the priest. That's how I felt, right? Now, when it came to Baptist church, I did enjoy my Bible study. At the end of the day, both believe in God and Jesus. There wasn't nothing different about that. But we also had our saints, right? We do pray to our saints in Catholic, and then in Baptist church, they do not believe in praying to saints. They just believe in praying to God and Jesus Christ, right? So a bit of a confusion, right? I also had religion class in Catholic school, and it was just certain things that I didn't get it. And then when it came to Baptist church, we were more in our Bible. As to Catholic church is like the priest reads the Bibles, and I used to always love like the interpretation of what it was being said. I remember always just listening and things like that, right? So 5 years old, I'm going to Catholic. I do my holy sacraments. I remember when I did my holy sacraments. I think now you have to do confirmation and then communion and confirmation separate. At that time, we did both sacraments, me and my brother. And I just remember going to the classes and just feeling like kind of like a big person. Like, here I am. I'm finally going to go up there and I'm going to take the bread and the wine. Like, it was just the most exciting experience for a child, honestly. And I'm going to be one with God, right? That's how I felt. My brother felt the same way, right? Then I just remember the time that I did my holy sacraments, right? And then now I'm going the next weekend to Baptist church. And I couldn't discuss that I did my holy sacraments with my friends in the Baptist church. So it was just all, like I said, all a confusion, right? And then as I got older, so I was really into my faith. When I was in high school was high school. I went to an all-girls school. All right, let me tell you where I went to first. So kindergarten to second grade, I was in St. Lucy's, right? And then St. Francis, and no. Let me go back. Kindergarten to first grade, I was in St. Francis de Sales. That's on 96th Street in Manhattan, right? And then St. Francis and St. Lucy's merged together. St. Lucy's was on 104th Street, right? If you know Manhattan, that's the barrio, right? So I remember when both schools merged. So now I'm going to second grade up to fifth grade in St. Lucy's. And then for junior high school, I went back to St. Francis de Sales, right? But I did do my Holy Communion in St. Francis. I got baptized in St. Cecilia. So that's where most of us got baptized. Like even my uncles and aunts, they went to Catholic school, which is weird. But my grandmother was Baptist. But I think she just wanted the whole private school route, but a lot of things didn't work out for them, right? They fell into the wrong shoes of meeting the wrong people. And I just have my opinion on what happened around that time. I'm not going to discuss that, right? So really into my faith. I used to love going to church. I used to love to go to church on Sundays because McDonald's was right around the corner and I knew we was going to get McDonald's. Now, with Baptist church. We were in there from like, we'll get there at 8 because my grandmother was part of the choir. I was part of the kids choir. So we'll get there at 8 and leave at 2 in the afternoon, right? And then we'll get our Sunday dinner started. We usually will have McDonald's for a snack. It wasn't a snack, it was a whole meal. But I just remember those days of just like wanting to go to church, right? Now, when I hit teenager is when I kind of was like, I don't want to go to church. And then she'll like force us. Like, there was no, I don't want to go to church, right? But I was still into my faith. Like, I still believed a lot of things are right. I believed in sinning. Like, sinning was like very scary to me. Like, I practically didn't do bad things because I didn't want God to strike me down. And that's how my grandmother kind of raised us. Like, oh, God is watching you. Jesus is watching you. She'll say it in Spanish, right? So make sure you do right. You always do right, right? So when I was in high school, now girls are experiencing different things, and us as teenagers too, we go through like our, we're experiencing, we're liking boys and things like that, right? But that wasn't allowed in my house. My grandmother never let me go out. There was no going outside. You stay in the house. And it was more of a female thing. Like with the females, she was like that. With the males, they can go out, they can do whatever they want. So it was really different in the household, right? And oh no, females don't go out. I remember one time. Oh, and another thing, we didn't celebrate Halloween either. There was no Halloween, so I never got to experience any of those things. But as a teenager, I kind of like felt like I was missing out. So I still kept my faith as a teenager, even going to school with my friends, experiencing a lot of things. These girls were experiencing a lot of things. And I was like, you need to pray, you need to repent, you need to ask for forgiveness. At that time, for Catholic, you go to penance, and then, you ask the priest to forgive your sins and all that stuff, right? So I remember just being that girl. I was a very funny girl. I was very class clown, but when it came down to certain things, it was a no-no, like losing your virginity and things like that. Like that was just all a no-no, right? So once I finished high school, right, I was 18, 17. I was 17 when I finished because I was like the late September or whatever, right? So I finished at 17 high school, and I thought I was a big girl. I thought, like, you know what? I don't care what you have to say anymore, grandma. I'm an adult now. I'm almost 18, right? So I started meeting the wrong people, right? And then I did have a boyfriend at that time that was no good for me. Still with him for 4 years, and I wound up pregnant, right? And I had my oldest, the ones that you see in the video, Jaylene. I had my oldest, so that's like from a separate relationship. But I remember having her at 19, 20, right? 19 turning 20, and that's when I realized, like, yo, you kind of messed up in life, right? And when I went to Baptist church, like, now I had this baby. I wasn't My grandma didn't allow me to go to church with her anymore when I was pregnant. She kind of like disowned me in that period of time. Like, she kicked me out at that time, and that's when like I lost my faith. Like, I thought like she'll forgive me for what I did, but I do take accountability for what I did. Now I'm gonna get a little teary, but she did teach me a lesson, though. She did. Like, her kicking me out was for a reason, and I learned a lot in that process. Well, I thought I did, right? So she kicked me out, and then she took me back in once I was gonna give birth or whatever. I had left my daughter's father. I didn't want nothing to do with that anymore. But now I'm just here with this baby. And I just remember, like, I want to get my faith back up, right? And she didn't want me to go to church because of I want to say like the embarrassment in a way. Like, I don't think she even told people in church that I was pregnant or anything. It's like the embarrassment. That's what I thought it kind of was, the embarrassment, right? And then I remember when I gave birth to Jaylene, like, I was in the youth group. Now I'm not allowed to even go to church. Well, she didn't allow me. She didn't allow me to go to church. She didn't want people talking stuff and all that. That's why it made me question like this church. And I'm not saying the Baptist faith, but it was very judgmental in her church, right? So I remember when I had Jaylene, and I'm like, I want to go back to church. I need something. I need something right now because I don't know how I'm feeling. Like, I'm a whole mom out here. I do work. I didn't go to college. Like I did some college and messed up with that. Like I just took the wrong route in doing things, right? And I just feel like when you keep somebody locked down for so long, they want to spread their wings regardless of how it comes. So um I feel like with my grandmother, it was a gift that she gave that to us, and then it was a curse all at the same time, right? So it kind of like, you should have let us experience a little bit, because I didn't know a lot of stuff. Like I was naive to a lot of stuff, right? So I remember telling her I want to go back to church. I want to bring Jaylene to church and stuff like that, right? And I remember she said, okay, let me talk to my pastor. Whatever. Like it was a whole thing, like rules and all this stuff, right? So she talked to the pastor, and now I have to be like, I can't be in the youth group anymore, of course, obviously, because I have this baby. So now I have to be like with the older women upstairs, and I feel like the church wasn't doing anything for me. I wasn't feeling it anymore. I just felt like when I first went back in, all the side talking. And then I remember putting Jaylene in the nursery because they did have a nursery at the church. And even feeling away when I went to take her to the nursery. I'm like, this is the church I grew up in. These are people that I've known for most of my life. And I felt kind of like discouraged and defeated at that moment. But that's when I say like your faith gets tested, right? And it could be through people, them not even knowing it, right? So um a, a big period of time I just gave up on it. I gave up on it. I was still always prayed up. Like I always pray at night, pray in the morning, thank you God for my day. Like that's one thing I did, right? That's one thing I did. And then I fell into the bad shoes as I started the 20s. Like now I still haven't experienced a lot of things, but I have this kid now, right? So I remember working, right? My grandmother did help me a lot with my daughter. She helped me a lot. It was me, her, and my daughter who lived with each other, right? So she did help me a lot with Jaylene, right? Kind of like took over in a way, right? Because I was leading towards the wrong path. I was hanging out a lot. I was going to clubs. Like I was experience what maybe 20 something year olds were supposed to experience at that time. I felt like, oh my God, I didn't have, my youth went away and all this stuff, right? So I started hanging out again with the wrong people. I'm going to clubs, I'm going to bars, I'm drinking. One thing I didn't do was any drugs because I was scared of that. Like the example with my parents, I was always afraid of that. And both my parents were HIV positive, and I was afraid of that too. Like drug consumption, that's how they got it, right? So there was a lot of things I was still afraid of. Like, no, I'm not doing that. There's certain things that I was like the mom of the group in a way, trying to hang out, right? Like always leading my friends, like, no, don't do this, be careful, blah, blah, blah. I was always the eyes. I was always the eyes because I always felt like I had to go back home to my daughter, and friends I was hanging out with, nobody had kids. So now I'm hanging out in these places that are no good. And let me tell you how these places are no good. I start experiencing in this period of time of hanging out, I start experiencing sleep paralysis, right? And if you guys don't know what sleep paralysis is, you can look it up. And it's basically the feeling of being up and being held down, right? I've experienced this when I was young, right? And my grandma told me, like, I remember telling her, and she's like, you get it from your dad. Like, your dad went through that same stuff as a child. Like, I'll have visions of like crazy stuff. Like, I don't even want to get into that, but I started having sleep paralysis. I started seeing things that clearly weren't there, but I was bringing bad spirits into my home from these clubs and bars, and that does exist. It does exist, right? And I remember praying to God, like, please, like, Jesus, even Jesus, I'm your child, like, please, like just get this feeling away. Like I need this feeling to go away, and it'll go away once I call on Jesus or God. It will go away, right? But it'll just keep on creeping back up, creep on creeping back up. And I wasn't a drinker like that, so it wasn't that I was like pissed drunk and then now I'm envisioning all these things, and I never took drugs, right? So I'm like, where is this coming from? And I remember my grandmother sitting me down. She's like, you're bringing that from where you're hanging out because it's not a good environment, right? So I remember fast forward, I stopped hanging out because that was another thing too. People I was meeting, they were in and out my life like it was nothing. And I was the friend that would do everything for a friend, right? But at a moment in time, I was getting used by a lot of people too. I held a job, right? I did take care of my daughter financially. I did pay the bills. You know, I always kept that going. Like I knew my responsibilities, but I did hang out and I did hang out with the wrong people. So I just felt like people came in my life in seasons. Like I'll meet someone and there's always something there. There's always something there. So fast forward, Jaylene's 8, I meet my husband, and that's when we both kind of got our acts together in life. Like, you know what, let's save money, because at this point in time we were both living with my grandmother and my daughter, and we actually had my daughter both daughters in New York, right? So the house was getting smaller, and even though it was a 3 bedroom 1 bath, like it's huge, right? But we felt like we need to make different moves. We have to save money. We have to make different moves. We have to do this American dream that everybody talks about, right? So at that point, I was staying at home because I did work out of school, right? I did work out of school, and I remember being pregnant, and I had something happen in the school. So I left that. Like I couldn't do it anymore. Pregnant. It just got a little scary with the children and stuff. Like I went through an experience there, right? So I remember like we need to get our act together, and my faith always stood. Like I always prayed to God. Um I was in a happy moment in my life. Like, wow, I'm gonna get married, even though I was pregnant first and then got married. But we're taking these steps of getting married. We're taking these steps of buying a home. And in the process of buying the home is when my faith got tested, right? So like this is my experience and what I went through. You guys probably won't believe me, but this is what we went through as a family trying to do the right thing, right? So Jaylene always went to church. I would bring the girls to church on Sunday with my grandmother. Like I was going back to church. Now I'm like, I feel like I'm accepted or whatever, because it was like really hard when I had Jaylene young. But now that I'm married, I guess, and I started, my husband didn't go, but we did go. We did take the girls when they were little and stuff like that, right? So I'm going to church every Sunday. I'm praying on this move. Like we're thinking about moving to a whole other state. Now we do have some family here. Well, not I don't have family. My husband has his brother, his wife, and there's cousins here and things like that, right? And when my faith got tested, when it comes down to the family, my husband's family in Florida, they couldn't believe that we were buying a home and we're making all these moves. My husband worked hard, 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 hard for everything that we got, right? And since we still lived in the hood, right? These people live different. They have houses, the picket fence, and all that, right? They thought he was doing something illegal, right? To get this home. Like, come on, let's keep it real. You can't do that nowadays, right? So he was working for a company at the moment. He was getting paid really good because he already put, I believe, like 10 years into HVAC. So he was getting pretty good pay with this company, and the company was emerging to Florida, which worked out perfectly. So he came to Florida with his job, same pay and everything. And what's good that state tax is taken out in New York, state tax is not taken out of your check in Florida. So he was getting paid even way more, right? So before we move into our home, we found this home. We had went house searching. Like we went house searching, and a lot of people was interfering in our house searching, right? I remember we saw some beautiful homes, right? They weren't that expensive. They were in our bracket of pay, right? And I'm sorry if my dogs are barking. They were in our bracket of pay. And I remember a lot of people interfering, like the family here interfering. Oh, but that's a bad neighborhood. Like just putting their input in everything nice that we saw, which was being weird after a while, right? So we went back to New York discouraged. We didn't find a home or whatever, and the process is not easy. So what we started to do is look online, and I'm like, there's no way, like possible way we're going to find a home online, right? So we find this home online. We're instantly in love with it, right? And I wonder why my dogs are barking. But we fell in love with it, right? And then we couldn't make it to Florida yet again because he had to work. So we had certain family members watch over our home, right? And like like go look at it. Is it good? Get in contact with our realtor. We left it in the hands of other people, which we shouldn't have done, period, right? So this is when it gets crazy. So when we there were certain times that we wouldn't tell, like they wouldn't tell us they were coming to our home, and they were coming to our home. They had the keys to our home. And I remember one time speaking to this certain person and asking them, "Oh, where are you? Like, were you? Oh, we're in your house right now." Okay, what are you doing in the house? Like, what? Like, we didn't send them there, right? What are you doing in our house, right? And let me tell you that there's good and there's evil in this world, right? So in New York, when we lived in New York, me and my husband, family, we're all good. We're all good. I was going to church or whatever. When I moved to Florida, my grandmother came with me and my aunt to stay with me for a while because he still had to work in New York. So they came with me, right? I didn't have my license, right? I didn't have my license. So everything in Florida, you need a license, right? Okay, I was interrupted by my dog was barking, my big dog. My big dog's barking. I got to go check what's going on. Okay, moving back to the story, right? So certain family member kept on coming to our house without us letting us know that they're coming to our house, right? And when I tell you that jealousy is really bad, I've never been jealous of anything. My grandmother told me never to want what other people have and things like that, right? And this story makes me emotional because the experience that we experience as a family, right? So we move, right? And we started, oh wait, when we first moved, the first day we moved, right? When you move to your new home, you want your daughters to open that door and be happy and stuff. These certain family members thought to put a welcome sign and welcome us into our home. That's ours, right? They didn't, oh, we have the keys, come pick up the keys, but we're actually in your house and we're going to greet you and stuff like that. Like the gesture was, I don't know what the gesture was, but something just started feeling funny to me. Like now this is being really funny. Like I don't understand what's going on, right? And as time went by, months went by and stuff, right? My kids started experiencing things, like seeing things. And if you guys don't believe in this, you could skip over this part, but things started shifting in my house, right? Things started kind of breaking in the house, right? Mind you, we did our part of unpacking and all that stuff, right? And things just started feeling really weird. And then when my husband moved, things even got more weird. Like he started, because my husband, when it comes down to me and the kids, never gets an attitude and things like that. We had a moldy smell in our house too, right? And it kept on getting stronger and stronger as time went on, right? And I'm like, something's not right. Something feels weird. Like even with my husband, he was just acting angry. We're arguing all of a sudden. Things just started shifting in this house. Like a family who was united, right? And mind you, I'm not going to church. So I haven't found a church out here. I don't know nothing in Florida, right? And the period of time that my husband wasn't here, it was hard because I didn't drive. He did. In New York, you don't have to drive. You take a bus or a train, right? Lucky there was a Publix and like a little shopping center right where we live that I got to do the food shopping. I made it work, right? And then when we come out here too, another thing, my husband's over there. We're experiencing our first hurricane. We didn't know what to do with this hurricane thing, and we're in it by ourselves. And I am very grateful for my grandma and my aunt for coming out here to help me out, with the girls. Like it was me and the girls, and I'm so grateful that I had them here with me, right? Another thing was picking school for these kids. Nobody wanted to help. It was like a competition within these families. Like they wanted their kids to be the best. They wanted to be the best. it was like it was the most horrible experience ever. And I thank God to this day that we don't talk to anybody, like none of those people. We're literally here alone, right? So um we start feeling weird things are shifting. There's a moldy smell in our home, right? And I'm like, we need assistance with this house, something's going on. My kids will wake up screaming at night, and I'm like, oh, maybe they're just having night terrors. But it was both of them, and they're telling me that they're seeing things. My oldest, she just felt like something near her, behind her all the time, because she'll do the dishes, and she's like, Ma, there's something wrong with this house. And I'm like, I do feel it, but I was in denial. I'm like, what can be wrong in this house, right? And I say my prayers and everything. And I remember when the arguing, like we start arguing more and more, and things are just shifting. I remember just praying, like, please help us, Lord, with whatever, what's going on in this house. Like there's something definitely going on. But I wasn't prayed up like that. That was just like a brief prayer that I was praying to God and to Jesus. It wasn't like deep in my prayer as to what's going on in this house. So I remember we got consultation for a spiritualist to come in our home, right? This is a different religion. This is something we don't believe in at all. Like my grandmother did not agree with this, but I was looking for any hope at the moment that I did get a referral from another family member from New York that lived out here. And this spiritual person is going to come and cleanse our house, right? The process of cleaning, we had to pay the person, right? We paid this person to clean our house, right? Um, did it work? We probably did. It felt work at the moment, but things started still happening, right? And I remember like asking God for forgiveness for even letting that in my house. Like it's like you think something's good. It's just like, and everybody has their own beliefs. I'm not here to knock anybody of anything. But when you put all your faith into a crystal or things like of that nature, I never grew up with that. And my grandmother never believed in that, nor did we believe in stuff like that. Even like sage and things like that. We've never believed in stuff like that. But if you do, that's like all for you. Like I'm not here to judge anybody on what they do, right? I just want to put that out there. But none of these solutions were working for me. I dabbled into the crystals. I dabbled into the sage, and I remember sage just burning hard because in certain areas of the house. And I remember when I just had enough. I had enough. And I remember getting on my knees, screaming, praying to please let all of this leave. And we had things in our house too that, oh, this is going to protect this and this is going to protect this. And I remember like God answered me and was like, first of all, you need to take all that stuff out of your house. Everything that you use for this spiritual thing, you need to get rid of all of it. Like I had a revelation. You need to get all of it. And this is my testimony. I remember throwing all that stuff out, all of it completely out. I remember waking up the next day, like I prayed on my knees and I was crying. I'm like, please help us. Me and my husband, the girls, like things were just being weird. And according to the spiritual lady, somebody put something in our home, like some evil thing in our homes. And I do believe in that. And my grandmother believes in that as well. They are people who don't mean well and do these type of things. And it was I know who it was, right? Let's just put it that way. And I would never want that person near me because not only are you harming us, you're harming our children, right? Right. So I got cleared of everything. I got on my knees. I prayed. And the next day, I just felt like everything was just like the moldy smell went away. We're not arguing. We're back to basics on what we need to really concentrate on. And eh, faith does get tested in that when you start going into other realms of things to try to find solutions. But and then the solution at the end of the day, for me, in my experience, was God and Jesus Christ. I feel like we pray to God and Jesus handles the rest. That's how it works, right? And my faith, I'm very into my faith when it comes to God. Now, as far as my kids, I need to be a little bit more. I need to teach them a little bit more about things. I need to get in my Bible a little bit more, but I do pray. I do pray. I do pray at night. I pray in the morning. I ask God, like, thank you for another day. Like, I'm always prayed up. Even when things are like, shifting, being weird, I always turn to God. And He always listens. Trust me, He listens. So that is my experience with faith. I'm sorry if it got probably a little weird, but that's my experience with faith, and I do believe that evil does exist, and I do believe that good does exist. And there's certain signs that we feel when something's just not right. So always go for those signs if you feel something's not right, right? Even being in this space of social media, I gotta stay prayed up because you just never know. You never know what's out there, like you never know what's on the other side. So I always stay prayed up, even when I'm, this YouTube journey, even when I did my YouTube journey before, I just because you're meeting all different people. And I'm not saying anything about you guys, but you have to stay prayed up in this space. So I want to thank Donna. I want to thank Mary Love Country Living for inviting me to this faithful hop. I want to thank all of you guys for listening to my story. It might be a little on the, whatever side, however you feel about it, but that was my experience. And I will always turn to God and Jesus Christ for everything, every step that I take. Even if I'm having a bad season, even if I'm having a great season, it shouldn't just be a prayer because something wrong is going on in our lives. No, we should pray that we are grateful for what we have in our lives, right? And I'm going to end it on this note. So as far as what I want to get out of this faithful journey, because I know a lot of people do go to church who are going to speak next. Make sure you check out everybody that's in this calendar. I know people are going to get into scripture. I have that feeling. So I'm super excited about this, and I'm super excited to learn from these people. So thank you guys for watching. Again, thank you, Donna. Thank you, Mary Love Country Living, for this. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.